Hello, friends! I'm back in the Boston area this week, and I am super glad to be back. My time in San Francisco was truly wonderful, but over the past week and a half, I've really felt encouraged and comforted by my daily routines, like walking my dog, or my practice schedule, or making my own food, or working out at my regular gym. Which kind of brings me to the topic of today, which I can only describe as what now? But first, let's flip over and look at the year progress for this week. Okay, so we're into the fourth week of January now, and by now many folks have already given up on New Year's resolutions. We've all had time to experience plenty of frustrations, disappointments, and obstacles. I think there are two narratives that tend to crop up in relation to frustration, disappointments, and obstacles. The first is that you just can't let it stop you. You try again, you keep trying, and then you overcome your obstacles through sheer force of willpower. And there's definitely something to be said for having grit and determination. But I think the problem with this idea is that willpower is a finite resource. And when and if you run out, you're left feeling like you just don't have what it takes to be successful. And that feeling can be devastating. Now, to be clear, not everybody has this response. There are some people who truly can just drink a tall glass of nut up or shut up in the morning, and that gets them through the entire day. As for me, after a few days of that routine, I just feel like I'm bullying myself. And I don't really want to bully myself into anything. Not even success. So if that's your story too, maybe this thought will help you. So let's go ahead and assume that progress is not linear. We'll put some work in on the front end that won't show immediate results. We're going to experience frustrations, disappointments, and obstacles that are going to threaten to derail us. And let's expect that at some point we will be derailed. So, when that derailing happens, we can be compassionate and non-judgmental towards ourselves. We take note of it. What triggered the experience? How did it make you feel? And what can I do to make tomorrow different? So I'll use my own experience as an example here. It'll be kind of meta, so just a warning. So one of the goals that I have for this year is to really cultivate my online presence. And this year challenge is one of the ways that I'm doing that. But 3 weeks in, I'm already way behind on my posting schedule. I'd aim to publish every Monday, but my second video didn't come out until the Sunday after I intended it to come out, so like 6 days later. That pushed this video back even further. But of course that happened because I had to travel before I could even really establish the habit, and when you're traveling, a lot of things are out of your control. What's more is I chose to involve another human in the process of the second video, and that human had their own wants, needs, and priorities, so I had to consider that in my planning. Now, I really tried to plan for those things before I left, but that planning still didn't produce the result that I'd hoped for. So at that point, I have two options. One, I can berate myself for not accomplishing what I wanted to accomplish, or two, I can figure out exactly what happened and learn how to plan for it better next time. What the latter option does is it allows you to develop what's called an implementation intention. It's a plan for how to facilitate the habit you want at the time that works for you. As a result of missing my past deadline, I've already developed two implementation intentions. The first is that I'm going to script and rehearse everything before I even sit down to shoot. That's because the biggest time sink in this process is editing. It can be really grueling, and even getting through 15 minutes of footage can take as much as 2 hours. Things like removing unnecessary pauses, adding cutaway shots or any kind of embellishment, anything like that. It's hugely important, but when you don't script your content, it takes you forever to weed out what you said on the fly. I'm expecting this is going to make the editing process much smoother for me, and in fact, right here I'll include a frame letting you know exactly how long it took me and how much time I think I saved. Second, I had to recognize that part of the challenge was coordinating with somebody else's schedule. Okay, fine. So that tells me I can still collaborate with other people, but those videos probably need to come out outside of these regular updates, or be incorporated into a later video. They just take too long to edit, and you can't really script a conversation in an organic way, so it kind of makes the whole thing a lot more daunting. Now, that said, in 8 or 9 weeks I might not feel that way anymore, and because I'll have much more practice with the skills, maybe I'll be able to edit a 30-minute interview down to a 10-minute video complete with B-roll and cutaway shots and joke frames, and that won't take me 10 hours. But that's not my reality right now. So I need to work in the now while I aim for what will be possible later. Okay, weirdest thing, but my camera has decided that it no longer wants to film, so here we are. Anyway, I want to acknowledge a couple of sources that went into this week's video. First, I work with a life coach. Her name is Jess. I'll link her in the description. She's absolutely amazing. She introduced me to the idea of implementation intentions, and it made a huge difference in how I approach the obstacles in my life. And then the second is that this idea came up again when I was reading Atomic Habits, which I'll also link in the description. Resist Amazon. The author, James Clear, describes how to use specific time and location to encourage a desired habit on the front end. Now, here I'm talking more about how to use implementation intentions as a troubleshooting tool to respond to times when you fail to meet your intended goal, but I think there are a variety of ways to use this tool, and all of them are useful. If you want to learn more about implementation intentions, I'm going to include more useful information in the description. Feel free to sound off with questions in the coming weeks, and I'll respond to them as I'm able. Alright folks, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next week. In the meantime, stay driven, stay encouraged, stay honest, stay you.